What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Smart Flyer and welcome to my very first episode of tutorial here in the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, where, as you can see from the title itself, today we are going to do a full cold and dark startup here in the Airbus 320, and today we will be using a real Airbus checklist and procedure just for your reference. And just reinforce, the checklist that I will be using here today is only for your own simulator purpose and shouldn't be used outside in real flying scenario. So a big shout out to the fly-by-wire team for making such a detailed and beautiful looking Airbus 320 here in the Microsoft Flight Simulator. So with that being said, let's proceed to the cockpit. Alright, so we are here inside the cockpit of the Airbus 320. So we are going to do the preliminary cockpit preparation. We separated into the pilot flying and the pilot monitoring section. So we're starting with pilot monitoring section, engine master 1 and 2 in the off position, engine mode selector normal, weather radar is off. If the toggle switch in the middle, it means it is off. And next thing we are going to see is the landing gear lever down, and then followed by wiper for the captain and first officer side off. Then we're going to turn on the battery 1 and 2 on. We have our external power, so just turn it on. Once this is done, next thing you're going to do is do the APU fire test. It's over here. Just press the test button, make sure all the light illuminated, and then you have the APU fire warning come out, and you have your master warning come out as well. Then after that, since we're done with the APU fire test, then we can start our APU. Pressing an APU master switch, then you're going to wait for 3 to 5 seconds before you can proceed with the start of the APU. So we're turning on the APU now. Jump into the lower ECAM here, just increase brightness a bit, then you can see the flap open, message should be coming up soon. There we go, and APU is starting now. So while waiting, what we can do is we're going to adjust the lighting here in the cockpit, starting with the overhead integrated light. Over here you can use it and adjust the lighting for the overhead panel in case we are doing a night flight. And non-standard, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to align the IRS, starting IR1, IR2, IR3. This one is to expedite our startup process here in the simulator. So next up, you're going to adjust the light over the glare shield here, and then increase your display brightness as well. So same goes for the primary flight display and your navigational display for the captain and the first officer side here. Increase the brightness. Another place you can adjust the brightness in the lighting in the cockpit is over here, the floodlight, main panel integrated light, main panel pedestal, and then your floodlight pedestal as well. So now we just wait for the APU to start, and as you can see here, our initial reference system is in a line. It should be aligned normally around 6 to 7 minutes time for full alignment. You can increase the brightness for the standby instrument as well. In the meantime, you can check, make sure there's no red flag over here, and then the barrel reference is set correctly. So we're going to set 1013 here, and for the FCU, just turn the Kieran hatch to Pascal here. 1013 is set. Alright guys, so now our APU is started. We can proceed with the next item, which is when APU available, external power push button switch, turn it as required. So I'm just going to leave it on as for now, and then aircon panel set, turn on the APU plate and adjust your temperature in the cockpit and in the cabin as you wish. Just going to leave it here. Cockpit light adjust, so we already done it just now. Next up, EFB ACAS initialization. EFB stands for electronic flight bag. This is where you're going to calculate your weight and balance and then the performance for the particular flight as well. So we are not going to do this, and we're just going to skip it. So we jump straight to the FMGS pre-initialization setup here. So just increase brightness here and then select FMGC as required. Then you have our data patch, aircraft status. Check the engine and the aircraft is correct. And you have an active navigation database, but this one expired already. Never mind, just either performance factor correct as well. So this one I'm just going to do a quick setup. I won't go through very detail, but just a quick setup here. So let's say we are going to Hong Kong from Taipei today. And alternate, I'm going to put Macau, Victor, Mike, Charlie. Flight number, just leave it on 123. Course index 45. Cruise flight level, we're going westerly direction, so just set it flight level 380, will be fine. And tropopause, I think should be somewhere around 55,000. This one according to your flight plan. And then departure, we expect 23 right departure. Charlie 1 Delta. Insert, I've inserted the chart for the SID and arrival over Hong Kong for your reference. And Hong Kong expect ILS 25 right, FB1 Golf, but I think I'll Delta insert. So next thing we're going to do is insert the airways via. So for Taipei to Hong Kong, normally it will be via Airways Tango 3 after waypoint Charlie, and then followed by Alpha 1. There you go. We have Mike Kilo Golf connecting both the airways. And there we go. We're done with the setup here in the flight plan. Red nav, we're going to set Alpha Papa uniform. This one is the VOR station closest to Taipei Taoyuan Airport, and it's not the auxiliary part where you be. Progress patch, normally we're going to set the departure airport IQ coding and then followed by the departure runway. Like for example, we're going to use 23 right, so we're going to type in Romeo Charlie Tango Papa 23 right, but I don't think it's working in our case today. Just leave it there. Performance, I'm just going to do based on the weight here, gross weight 55.8 ton. So I'm going to insert a rough figure for our departure performance. So V1 145, VR, assuming it's going to be 145 as well. V2, just leave it 145 as well. Flaps, we're going to use a flap 1 for departure, and PHS is your trimmable horizontal stabilizer, which is 0 for now. We're just going to type 0, but of course this one, it depends on the calculation you get after computing in your electronic flight plan. Flex temperature 20 is way too low in Asia country, so just put 60 here. And then secondary is not working. Then we go to our init B patch. We have our 0 fuel weight as shown here during just before we enter the session for the Microsoft Flight Sim. So we have our 0 fuel weight with 50.2 and then CG 22. Block fuel, we have 5.6 ton over here, so put 5.6. Trip wind is the average wind for your flight from Taipei to Hong Kong. I'm just going to leave it 0. Taxi we have 200, and we have our final reserve alternate fuel and then our trip fuel as well over here. So extra, our diversion for Hong Kong to Macau requires 700 kg. We have plenty of fuel, so no issue. Alright, so we are done with the FMGS setup and GPS primary, so means our aircraft is fully aligned as for now. So next thing we're going to do is the ECAM or logbook check. Recall push button, press and hold. If there is no any failure or warning came out on the previous flight, it should be showing normal here, but it's not working here. Next up is the technical logbook. This is where you're going to check if there's any MEL entry in the aircraft. MEL stands for minimum equipment list, in case there's any failure on some particular system in the aircraft, and you have to refer before every departure of the flight and check if there's any operating procedure for the particular flight. CDL stands for configuration deviation list. This one you're going to check as well before you accept your aircraft. Alright, next up we go to the preliminary performance determination. FA data of 10, whichever pilot flying on pilot monitoring will get the weather using the ATIS here in the radio management panel, and then compute the performance data using your electronic flight plan. Alright, before walk around, ECAM oxygen pressure, check out here. Make sure both the pressure for the captain and the first officer side is in an acceptable level according to the Airbus FCOM before departure. And then hydraulic quantity, where's the hydraulic here on the ECAM panel is not working. And same thing as well, just check the level of the hydraulic is sufficient for the flight. So next thing we are going to check is the engine oil quantity here. As you can see, engine 1 and engine 2 we have full quantity 25 quarts, and for 320 neo normally we are going to get between 15 to 20 quarts, depends on the frequency of the aircraft's usage. Right, next up is the flap. The flap lever, make sure it's steady as per shown on the upper cam. So here is showing flap 0, tally with flap 0 on the lever. Speed brake retracted, yep, is in retracted position. And then if you can see the white color thing here, it means that the spoilers is being armed. So push it to the disarm position. Parking brake handle on. Accumulator brake pressure over here. Accumulator pressure, check if it's inside the green band. Then you have your pressure holding your main gear brakes as well over here. So coming down, we have our emergency equipment check, which I list down here. These are the equipment that you are going to check just before you sit down on your seat and commence your preliminary cockpit preparation as soon as you enter your cockpit. And rear repellent is just behind the captain's seat over here. Even though it has not been used as frequent as it is, you still have to check the level of the rear repellent over here. It should be showing more than the refuel indicator. Then we have our circuit breaker panel just behind the where the co-pilot sits, and overhead panel as well. Same thing, check all the circuit breakers are not pop up, or if pop up, unless if there is any failure and required you to put the particular circuit breaker for the flight. Then we have our gear pins and cover. It's located just behind where the captain sits, and it should be stored here in this compartment. Otherwise, if the gear pins is still attached to your main landing gear, you will be unable to retract your landing gear after airborne. And then you perform your exterior walkaround. Alright, we come to our cockpit preparation. So starting from the left hand overhead panel, all white lights extinguished. So on the we just clear the crew supply oxygen here. So you can see cockpit oxygen fan is now become white color instead of amber as we see just now. So coming up, recorder ground control push button switch on, INOP, CVR test, INOP as well. So normally this is where you are going to test the serviceability of the cockpit voice recorder. Captain buzzer or captain switch, this one I'm going to leave it in the captain position, which means that only the captain can command an evacuation in emergency. All IR mode selector, I already done it just now. Select to nav and aircraft is fully aligned. Exterior lights set, turn on the nav and logo light. Other lights, I'm just going to leave it to off position. And then your seatbelt sign to on, no smoking sign to auto. Of course, before you turn on your seatbelt sign, you have to ensure that the refueling procedure has been completed. Emergency exit light, put it to arm. Prop window hinge should always remain in the auto position. If you don't see any light, it is in the auto position. Landing elevation, leave it on the auto. Head floor selector, I will leave it in normal as well. You only set it based on the number of passenger as per the Airbus F. Right, next up is the elect panel. What we are going to check is we are going to turn off the battery 1 and 2 and turn it on again. This one is to check the charging capability of the battery itself, but I don't think there should be something showing over here, but it's not working in the flight sim. And then our fuel pump, clear all the white light, going to turn on all the fuel pump, and this one is to ensure the refueling has been completed, then only you turn it on. Then we have our engine fire test. It's very similar as our APU fire test. So just press the test button, check all the light illuminated. You have engine 1 fire warning came out, and then your master warning. Last thing you're going to check is the light over here at the engine master switch. It should be illuminated, but it's not working here. There we go, we do the engine fire 2 warning test again. Alright, done with the fire warning test. Coming up is the switching panel, auto switching panel. Over here, leave it in normal position. Then we have our WAN panel, check no white light. Public announcement, third occupant is on our audio control panel number 3. This button should be leave it in the on position throughout every flight, so that the public announcement can be recorded into your voice recorder system. So last part for the overhead panel is the maintenance panel here. Check there's no white light, just turn off the white light here. I have no idea why you did on. Then we go to the center instrument panel. ISIS stands for your integrated standby instrument system. It's over here. We already done it just now. All the check barrel is been set, correct brightness adjusted, no red flag can be seen. Clock, this one is UTC time. Press one time, you get the UTC dead. Press another time, you get back clean. Anti-skid nose wheel steering should remain in the on position unless you are in a loss of braking situation. Coming down to the pedestal, we have our ACP stand for audio control panel for the captain and the first officer side. This is where you can adjust the channel that you are receiving and then transmitting, and same goes for the volume as well. Upper part is the radio management panel for the captain side, first officer side as well. You can tune your frequency over here and the channel that you are transmitting or receiving. Thrust lever idle, engine master again off, 1 and 2, engine mode selector, norm. Park brake as required, I'm just going to leave it on. Gravity gear extension handle, check stop, ATC on standby. For TCAS, I'm going to tune it to above since we are going for departure. We set to above during departure so that it can detect the traffic 9,900 feet above you and 2,700 feet below you. So RMP, we already done it just now, radio management panel. Nav charts, clipboard prepare, flight management system prepare, we already done it. Next up, when both flight crew are seated, glare shield, barometric difference set, Q1013, we already done it. Flight director on, for both side, on the constraint meaning that you can see if there's any altitude or speed constraint on your end afterwards. This one I'm going to tune it to VOR for the captain's side and the first officer's side, since we are not going to use any NDB for our departure today. ILS, you don't need it unless you are doing low visibility operation or any requirement for particular airport. MD mode and range, I will leave it in the lowest range and leave it in the up mode. FCU, dashes means manage, so you have your speed manage, your lateral guidance manage, so means after airborne you will follow the SID as required. Initial altitude, I will leave it at 5,000 and increment set to 100 feet. Lateral console oxygen mask, this is a time where you are going to perform an oxygen mask test here before the departure of the flight. And instrument panel, PFD and D brightness done. Loudspeaker knob in our case. PFD and D check, what you're going to check is basically the V1, V2 speed you have inserted, FMA reading, initial altitude selected, your QNH set, airport elevation is daily as per from the chart, and then your heading is correct. So you have to compare it with the commander side or vice versa. Landing elevation, press the pressure patch, make sure it is auto. ECAM status, check, normal, and takeoff briefing, perform. So basically we are more or less done with the setup here. With the pilot flying, at this time we give a briefing to the pilot monitoring for the flight. Alright guys, we come to the before pushback and start part. So basically, if there's no any changes, last minute changes to the log and balance sheet and your performance inserted here in the flight management system, so you may request warning clearance, and then you adjust your seating position, flight management system, performance patch for the pilot flying side, and flight plan patch for the pilot monitoring side. Apparently it's not working here for the FMS number 2. External power, here you can disconnect it. Disconnect all the external power. External power disconnection request, assume we have already done it. Then you may call for the before start checklist. So before start checklist, cockpit prep completed, gear pins and cover remove, signs on auto, ADRS, you jump into the FNX number 1, go under position monitor, make sure all the IR is in nav mode, and you have your GPS primary accuracy height. So ADRS, nav, fuel quantity 5,600 kg, takeoff data, set, barrel ref, QNH 1013 is set, down to the line. Alright guys, so by this time the aircraft is ready for pushback and start. You may request for the clearance for pushback, and in the meantime you may get confirmation from your RAM staff that safety and security check has been completed. illuminated on the exterior of the aircraft. Once you get the clearance from ATC that you are clear for pushback and start, you're going to turn on your beacon light and then set your ATC to auto so that the tower can surveillance your ground movement. You may proceed with the checklist below the line. If our windows doors, sliding windows is closed, cockpit door is closed, and then most importantly, your door are closed and up. So windows doors closed, beacon light on, thrust lever idle, temporary parking brake, release. Before start, checklist completed. Then you may proceed with the pushback. Alright, so that's it guys. This is how you do a full setup for the Airbus 320 from cold and dark state until aircraft is ready for engine start. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do leave a like, and if you have any suggestion, leave a comment down below, and I shall see you in the next video very soon.